Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Broken Boys. This is episode 205. I'm Colin,
And I'm Mike.
and today we're going to be going on with another episode of the acclaimed series Artist Analysis, where we go through the discography of whatever artist we may have rolled last week. And this one happens to be Bruno Mars.
Number one artist on Spotify right now.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. Well, maybe not at the moment. I don't know how quickly they update those things, but he was at the beginning of the week. But
It must have been the Sexy Red song, but
well, that and the Lady Gaga song, and
not sure.
just a lot of big songs.
Um,
Anyways, yes.
Yeah, we'll be talking about his discography, how he feels, as well as an evening with Silk Sonic as well. Um, because we've done Anderson and now Bruno, so just might as well throw that in there.
Put the bow on it. Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before that, how was your week, Mike?
Week was fine. A lot of same old, a little bit. The music. Colin can confirm music is happening from the Mike side of things.
Yeah.
Yes, he can confirm. Thank you for confirming. And but I didn't really do all too much this week, besides from that kind of stuff, and still applications and all that kind of those kinds of things.
Right.
Fun out there. But I have watched a lot of things this week and listened to things. We talked about it last week because I think it came out on the day we recorded, but the Chuckle Sandwich finale came out, and I was able to watch that. Did a big old Dungeons and Dragons with Charlie as the dungeon master, very good. And then that got the very end, they did like a, I don't know, 20-minute segment of them just saying goodbye a few months later, and it was very heartfelt and sweet. And Charlie Slimesicle is the most adorable person in the world. They all start getting emotional a bit, but he was the most just heartfelt message to both of them. It was like, oh my god, dude. But it's just good seeing that it's all on good terms between them, and they all really enjoyed doing the project. It's not like out of malice that it's ending. So
Yeah.
it was a very wholesome ending that I liked a lot. And then I also watched this thing. Did you by any chance hear about because I feel like this got really big this week, about Squid Game actually being based off of a real horrible incident in South Korea?
No, I've never
Yeah.
seen anything about it.
Yeah, I was watching I believe, hold on, I want to find the channel name because I should credit them. I believe the channel is called Dead Meat or something like that, where they talk about low key. Oh no, Dead Meat's who does the kill count. um, but it's where is she? Rotten Mango is what they're called, and they do stories on niche things. But this is a story that South Korea has been trying to push down for a while, about an actual internment camp that they were hosting in the 80s, that was putting people in blue track suits and forcing them off to this own remote place, and doing a whole bunch of torturous fucked up shit. I think they had over 3,500 people there, and I think the death count was confirmed around 600 or something like that. It was a really horrible case, but I was just enthralled by that. She had a 3-part series where each of them were an hour long. And yeah, that was just a very interesting thing I learned about this week.
I've checked that out.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy content to watch, to be honest. It's very dark stuff, but it's crazy that it seems like because like the creator of Squid Game has been trying to make that show for like 10 years now.
Mhm.
And like he's around the age where like he could have been in there as a child, and like all you or like someone he knows could have been there as a child. He's trying to tell this story through like this, different perspective potentially. um
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know, I think it's really fascinating and interesting because it's like all trying to be kept low key and but it's like a real thing that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's interesting. And then also I've been watching a lot of, have you ever heard of the Jet Lag the game by any chance?
No, I don't.
Yeah, they're this YouTube channel with like three guys who are doing uh did you ever watch The Amazing Race by any chance?
I've heard of it. I've never
You've heard of
watched
it?
it.
Okay. It's like a reality TV show where like they're racing around the world and stuff. But like for Jet Lag the game, they're a YouTube trio. And they're like doing these, I guess like challenge type things as well. But like so like I've been watching a few of their series that they've been doing, and one of them was like racing from the northernmost part of Alaska to the southernmost part of Florida, right? And like they would be in two teams, and well, one of them would have a partner, then so it'd be two and two. But and like they would do that, but like they'd be like doing like these challenges and like this like kind of game at the same time. And like I don't know, they're really funny guys, and I've been really enjoying that content the last few weeks, honestly. But watched more of that this week too, and I figured give a shout out, liking that a lot. Fun.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of what's happening. I listened to some things too. Um, the most popular album of last week was Eusexua by FKA Twigs, which I listened to. And I enjoyed quite a bit. And honestly, I think I will enjoy even more as I give it more listens. But I'll talk about that a little bit more. We're gonna do a little roundup this week too. Um, I'll talk about a little bit more during there. Listen to a lot of Bruno Mars,
Yep.
the three albums from him, and then I also listened to "Hurry Up Tomorrow" by The Weeknd, which came out last night. Um, the story with that was kind of interesting because it was about like 2 o'clock ish a.m. and I was looking on Spotify, and I saw actually on the side of my Spotify, I saw that you had just finished, well, not had just finished listening, but the most recent thing you listened to was the last track on that album. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, that came out. And I went to look at it, and I was like, oh, that is 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I had to make a quick decision if I was gonna go through with listening to that. And I decided to. But yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more later too. But I did listen to it. Um yeah, that's pretty much it for me. What's up with you?
Nice.
How's it going?
Uh, yeah. Nothing too crazy this week, really. Just working, same old, pretty much. Um, I had my first like little trainer meeting thing where it was just like, this is what you're gonna be doing as a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
These are the videos you gotta watch, and it's like it's gonna be like 4 to 5 hours of videos you gotta watch. I'm like, oh,
Damn.
at least I get paid for it.
Yeah.
But I was all right. Didn't it was like she's like it's gonna be like an hour long, but it ended up being like 35, 40, which I was still timed where I was like getting paid to just sit down and listen to my manager, so I'm not too upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like right after I went on break, and then right after I got off break was the meeting, so I had like a nice long break in between there.
Yeah.
Um, but that was all right. Played played some more Fortnite with my coworkers, which was fun. Uh, we
Nice.
were playing we were playing like horror we were playing horror maps, and
Mm.
they were they were pretty well made, to be honest, but there was it was by a creator who obviously I think they're either Chinese or Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like a lot. The English was a little broken,
Mm.
and you would like die and be reset, and like you wouldn't, your camera would be turned around, so you don't know what's happening, and so you die again, and then it resets again over and over again. It's just the same kind of screen jump scare kind of thing every time,
Yeah.
and it got really funny as it just kept happening. Um, but that was fun.
We
I
sorry if you don't mind me interjecting. We also did a Fortnite horror game. And it was I don't something about like mannequins or something. But there was a lot of times when the screen would go dark. And my friend Daniel has a Hatsune Miku skin, and it just glows no matter what. And
yeah.
I'm sending a picture right now. I got a really good image of what that playthrough was like. Having Leon as Kennedy right next to Hatsune Miku. But yeah,
That's awesome.
it would go pitch dark, and I wouldn't see anyone else, but Hatsune Miku would be clear as day.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Anyways, continue.
That was fun. I decided to start a new playthrough of Baldur's Gate because
Mm,
I never finished it, and I was getting a little hankering to play some D&D type thing. So
yeah.
hopped on there, made a little warlock. He's pretty cool. Haven't played much yet, but you know, I plan on actually getting through it this time.
Hmm.
So um, we had a we had a fun customer on Tuesday, yeah, or Wednesday. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday. But we no, it was Sunday actually. Lied. Neither of those days. And I, uh, we were just sitting around. One of our coworkers is in the window, and she's like this little Hispanic girl who doesn't speak much English.
Mm.
And Max was taking orders and making drinks and stuff. This guy orders a large coffee with 2 cream in it, and he comes up to the window. He opens it up, and he's like, "How hard is it? How hard is it? I want 2 creams in this coffee." And
Jeez.
Max is like, there's 2 creams in that coffee. He's like, doesn't look like it. There's no cream in this coffee.
Jesus.
There's no 2 creams in this coffee. And it's a large coffee, so it's not gonna be like dark with two
Right.
creams in it. It's not gonna be light. I mean, and he's just yelling and yelling and yelling, and I'm like, I look over there, and then our manager starts walking over, and she's already having a bad day. So she goes in the window. She's like, "Why are you yelling at my employees?" And he's like, "Well, I just want to know how hard it is. I want to know how hard it is to put 2 creams in a coffee. 2 creams in a coffee." And and she's like, "You can get no coffee.
Damn.
Like you can get the fuck out of here." And he was like, "No, I just want 2 creams in my coffee." So
Jesus.
she puts the 2 creams in the coffee, and while she's like yelling at him, and he's yelling at her, some other dude who's walking in the building starts yelling at the guy in the car. And why are you treating them like that? Why are you yelling at them? Why,
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? And
Yeah.
it's like, and, and our manager was like, "Thank you, sir, but I can handle this." And he's like, "Yeah, just stop treating them like that." It
I
was just
mean,
like,
honestly, I respect that
yeah,
guy.
honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but that was fun. He was just mad. It was really funny and hard to not to
Yeah.
laugh at it.
Yeah.
But it was just like, God damn, you're
Sounds
stupid.
like a I think you should leave bit a little bit, just repeating two coffee, 2 creams of coffee, a whole bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Um, I've also been on a Smosh Games
Mm.
kick this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching the board AF
Mm-hmm.
series that they do. It's been very funny. I forgot how funny that cast of people is
Oh
because
yeah.
I haven't watched any of like the Smosh game stuff in a long time, and I've seen clips of like Amanda and
Shane.
and Angela
Oh
and
yeah.
Shane and everybody. Like I knew Shane and Courtney and the people like that, but like I've never really watched anything with like Angela or Amanda or Chance
Mm-hmm.
or Rasha, and like and
Yeah.
I started watching it. It was like Moose Master was
Oh.
one that I was really getting a lot of fun out of. I was watching like the Beppardy stuff that they do too.
Yeah.
There's that one clip of there's like something happened in 2011, and Angela was like, "That happened," and everyone's mind was on something else. And they're like, "What do you think happened in 2011?" She's like, "9/11."
Yeah.
That shit killed me.
Yeah, it's
Um,
so fucking so good. I
but yeah,
would I would recommend they've done on Smosh games, they've done a lot of those like social deductive games. Like they've done like Secret Hitler and stuff on there,
yeah,
and Ultimate Werewolf. Like those are very good watches as well.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched Ultimate Werewolf as well.
Oh,
It
nice,
was,
nice.
but that's very good. I love those guys.
Yeah.
But um, I'm gonna the other day as well, me and Max were going to Walmart. We were on the way, and this car in the lane next to us has their blinker on, and they're going to turn left into like a parking lot or whatever on this road. And this other car is coming the opposite ways, like obviously not stopping, not slowing down or anything.
Awesome.
And the car turning left decides to not wait, and she like kind of stops a little bit and then like keeps going and then stops and then keeps going and just slams directly into the car, the oncoming car,
Mm.
to the side of it.
Wow.
And and we managed like, what the fuck? So we
Yeah.
like stop, we pull over, and we're like, and there's another car that saw it too that pulled over as well, um, to like make sure everything was okay. But like, the car that hit, that was at fault, fucking the whole front bumper was off the car,
Yeah.
and it was fun. Um, and we're like looking over there. There's still cars oncoming in either direction, so we can't like cross the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but this other girl comes out of her apartment. And she's like, "Hey, are you guys okay?" And we're like, "No, it wasn't us." But like, we're like, Max, did you see it? And she's like, "No, but I heard it." And we're just talking, and then she's like, I yell across the street. I'm like, "Do you guys need witnesses?" And they say something like, and I'm like, "I didn't hear it because there's still cars." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yes." So, we parked and then we went over, and it was just like one of the other people that stopped were like checking the girl who crashed into the car, like for a concussion and
Yeah.
stuff. Because she was limping, and apparently she like was feeling sick right before it happened, and then she didn't remember how it happened. So, um, it's either like shock or she was actually having like a episode or something. Because
That was the person who got crashed into, like who was turning
no,
left.
the person that turned left
Oh,
and
okay.
crashed.
Okay, okay, yeah. Oh,
Um,
turn left. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I see what
yeah,
you mean. Yeah.
pretty much T-bone the car, kind of. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just we were just waiting for um, police, and then
Right.
they got there and they're like, What did you see?" And then they just got our information and it was fine. But it was like, what, like what the fuck?
Yeah, that's an event. I'm surprised you
Yeah,
saved that long into your week.
yeah, yeah.
The two
I
creamers was more
forgot to,
important.
yeah, I forgot to write it down until like right before the pod. So it was like,
Yeah. Wow.
this is, but yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm glad you're all right. You and Max are all
yeah,
right. Yeah.
right. But yeah, I listened to Bruno Mars, and I listened to Hurry Up Tomorrow as well, which I'll talk about as we get into our roundup. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much my week.
Cool.
Gonna go hang out with my coworkers after the pod as well, so that'll be fun.
Nice, nice. Do you guys have a plan?
I think we're just gonna play games like Mario Party and stuff.
It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Well, we got some music news as well this week. First thing I wrote down was John Bellion was teasing again
Yeah.
this week. He, I'm not sure if you got added on Instagram into a little group that he made, and like
Yeah.
I don't know DMs is the right word, but it was like an Instagram group, and then he was like posting in a bunch of places. 6 years is long enough, so
Mhm.
sounds like another one of your album predictions was correct.
I'm God. I'm God. That's all.
Yes, yeah, you are a prophet at the very least. um, but so yeah, that's exciting. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. we also got a new Black Country New Road single um, called Besties, and also an album announcement as well. Their album
Yeah,
Forever How Long is coming out April 4th. So a little,
it'll
little
be a
bit of
busy
what
day.
what else is coming out that day?
Joe.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, no offense, but I that's a clear which one I'm listening to first.
Oh well,
But
yeah.
um, yeah, but yeah, the song came out. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I think it's nothing like that like it's blowing me away, but it does make me excited for the rest of the record, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a fun song, still high on those friendship vibes,
Right.
which is great. I mean, it's a complete tonal shift from Anthem up there, but
Yeah.
it still has that same level of quality that I really enjoy. And yeah, have you listened to it? Sorry, I should have asked that first.
Yeah, I listened to it. I've been listening to it a few times since it came out yesterday, and it's been good. Like you said, it's nothing that like has blown me away or anything, but I have been enjoying it. I like I like that it feels like them, but it's not nearly as like down or serious feeling as From Up There
Mm-hmm.
was. Um, and it's really good. I there's a moment in there where the saxophone comes in, and I'm like, oh, I love that feeling. I love
Yeah.
that feeling. Um, but the I love the like kind of like instrumental beginning until and then it just explodes into the song.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I like it a lot. The music video is good too. Nothing. It's not like super exciting or anything, and it's not nearly as weird as Concord, but
Yeah.
it's
It's shot well
it's
though. Yeah.
yeah, it's shot well. But yeah, I'm excited for the album. It's gonna be very cool.
For
Um,
sure.
more mind blowing shit, hopefully.
Yeah.
Um,
We also signed up for something for tickets. It was like a
tour pre-sale.
yeah for
Um,
pre-sale tickets. Yeah, thank you.
yes.
And Chicago is the second
Woo!
show of the tour.
Hell yeah.
And the first show is I think Lollapalooza in Mexico City. So that's like kind of a show in the first place. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's not focused around them. So Chicago's kind of the first one if you really think about
You think about it.
it.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the tickets aren't going to be like crazy.
I'm
So,
hoping not. I'm hoping not.
because if I think John said that Faye Webster was like 50 something or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
let's look at
and if Faye
hers.
Webster's cheaper, then I'm assuming, and it's the same place, it's the Salt Shed. So,
Oh, it's the same place. Oh, Faye Webster has 8 million listeners right now. Okay, so yeah, I think I was gonna compare the two, but I think that's a lot more the Black Strip.
and then when I went to see how many views the music video had, it was like 12K, like 4 or 5 hours after
Yeah,
it dropped, and I was like, they're still little guys. They're still a little band.
they are little guys.
I'm a little guy.
One of the most renowned
Um,
albums of the 2020s, but there are little guys.
it's still indie weird music
It's
for
true.
people,
It is true. Yeah,
for music nerds.
depressed music
Um,
nerds. Yeah,
yes. So I'm very excited for that. Would love to see them
yes.
live. Don't know if they would play anything old at all, but I would.
Maybe Bush Hall. I mean, they've been pretty clear that like since Isaac left, that they won't do any of Isaac's songs. Like not out of like hate or anything, but just because those are his songs. um, um. So, but maybe from Bush Hall, there might be songs from there.
Yeah, but either way, I'd be very excited to hear a band like that. That's very different
Oh
from
yeah,
anything I've seen before. So,
yeah, me too.
yeah, that'll be cool. That's May 13th, I believe, is that show.
Hmm.
So, we'll let you know next week if we got tickets.
We'll let you
But
know.
yeah, that's very cool. Very excited for that. Um, and then, like we said, oh, they're also touring with Frico, which is very cool.
Oh yeah,
Um,
more incentive for me to listen to that album.
yes,
Yeah,
I would love to hear some of that stuff live because I was re-listening to that album this week again, and I was like, damn, this is some good stuff.
yeah,
So I'd be very interested to hear that live as
yeah.
well. And then also the last Weekend album came out today. hurry
Yes.
up tomorrow, which we can talk about when we get to roundups, unless you want to talk about it here. But,
Um. Yeah. Yeah. We can talk about it in roundup.
all right. You have any other music news?
Yeah. Yeah. I still have a few here. Imagine Dragons are doing a 10th year anniversary for Smoke
Hmm.
and Mirrors. Even though
Yeah.
that came out in 2014. Um. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on there.
We're a
Um.
bit busy.
Yeah, they're just a little late. But they came out with a single, like a demo from the vault, called Monica from that era, and it is really bad. Like, like I saw like Smoke and Mirrors demo. I was like, oh, okay, that's you could say a lot of things about Magic Dragons, but first two albums, pretty
Mm-hmm.
decent. Pretty decent, and Smoke and
Good.
Mirrors actually has some legitimately interesting tracks on it.
Good.
And but yeah, no, the vocals were just terrible on it, like just really, really bad, like to a point like I haven't even heard in their music before, and I was like, oh my god, why did you release this?
Should have
Like,
stayed on the cutting room floor.
that
Goddamn.
that was in my review on album of the year. Yeah, it was like, I wasn't even planning on, I was just planning on listening and then moving on with my life, and I was like, no, this is really bad.
I have to
um
look mess now.
yeah, yeah. um yeah, it's yeah, so that's a thing that happened, I guess. Quadeca did a little live stream a couple days ago. I was just doing nothing, I think, and I got a notification. Quadeca went live on Instagram. And I went to watch it, and he was just in a dark room with computer light on him, and then he played like a minute snippet of a song from, I'm guessing from Vanisher, and sounded really good. Had some cool drums and cool, Quadeca ambience. So, and I saw when I woke up today that I had missed another Quadeca live stream, so I don't know if he did another snippet or what, but you know,
Yeah. I don't
Vanisher
know.
coming. Um, then I have that Claro. I sent you this
Yeah.
in Instagram DMs, but yesterday she shouted out both Black Country New Road and Leve in her Instagram story, and I was like, one of us. Claro's one of us.
I
uh,
mean, she's a gay British person, so it doesn't super surprise me.
I don't think Claro's British, is she?
Is she not? I thought she was.
I'm pretty sure she's like from the Midwest. She's from
Oh,
Atlanta.
she's a gay Georgian.
Yeah, and if it wants to be the country or the U.S. state, that's up to you.
Yeah.
She does have
I don't
British
know why I thought
vibes.
she was British.
Yeah, she kind of has the vibes. I know what you mean. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's like American as hell. Um, and then I guess this is kind of music news. There were grooming allegations against DJ Academics that
Oh
came out.
no.
I know, super big shocker. But yeah, a lot of weird actions towards young people that he was making content with, like just normal content, not nothing too weird in that department. But like,
Yeah.
talking with 16-year-old producers and saying like, oh dude, I'm gonna send some strippers to your house, what's your address, like unironically and shit like that,
Um,
and more things as well. Just really weird shit, and very shocked to hear this from a man who glazes drink so much. um
yeah. Yeah. Certified what?
mm-hmm. the predator mo- Then predators move in flocks. But yeah, anyways, that's
That's,
all I got music news.
that's devastating. That's
I know, I
devastating.
know. Sorry to end on such a downer.
Uh, that's okay because the real world news has even more downers.
Let's go.
Um,
Continuation of last week.
um, we got Trump. Creating a concentration camp in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, I didn't hear
Um,
about that one.
yep, that's where he's creating a like a detention, a illegal immigrant detention center in Guantanamo Bay,
Awesome.
which is a concentration camp. Uh, and so that's where he's sending illegal immigrants for the moment. At least that's one of the places for now. Um, that he's sending illegal immigrants
Mm-hmm.
to wait out their trials, I guess. But who knows how long that'll take and what the conditions at Guantanamo Bay, the one of the most infamous, prisons in the U.S. At least from if you know stories from like the wars in the Middle East in the early 2000s and the 90s and stuff, where they brought prisoners of war and just tortured them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know what's gonna happen there? Don't know, but that's awful.
Yep.
Um, uh, we're boycotting Target now. Fuck Target. They decided to post that they are doing away with all their DEI policies and uh, I think getting rid of all or like not supporting as many like black owned products in their stores.
Hmm.
Um, so they fuck Target.
Yeah,
Not what I expected from a place like Target, to be honest.
they really missed the target on that one.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been going through his confirmation trials this week to be the head of the HHA, which is the health something or other, the health association that presides over the U.S. kind of like vaccine stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
putting stuff out about vaccines, et cetera, saying what's healthy and not. And it's been hilarious, to be honest, to watch those videos because he has no idea what he's talking about and always like lies about what he said and what he didn't say. And they're like, so you called the CDC like a Nazi camp at this time, and he's like, I didn't say that. And they're like, well, actually, here's a transcript.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, his face is just like, oh. And then he had a record. He had a good outlook on abortion for a long time,
Oh,
where he
I'm
was like,
sure.
it's the woman's
Oh,
choice. It's how
yeah.
it's not the government shouldn't control that kind of thing. And they had like quotes with pictures of him on like poster board behind them as they were talking,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, well, I agree with Trump that abortion is a tragedy.
Yeah.
and
There are videos of
and
I remember seeing videos of even Trump, like I think early
yeah,
2000s or late 90s, saying those exact things.
yeah,
But that's not what the voter
yeah,
base wants.
right. And the Congress person or the official that was talking was like, so you'll do anything, you'll just go with Trump on whatever he says. You don't care about what you believe or anything like that. And he's like, I agree with Trump on abortion tragedies. And she's like, so you're a fucking idiot, pretty much. um,
Well,
and that's been very funny to watch.
mm-hmm.
Um, don't know how that's going to go. I'm hoping people aren't going to, vote for him to be in, but who knows? Um, and then also there was a tragic plane helicopter accident in
Yeah.
Washington D.C. a couple days ago, a couple nights ago, actually, where a commercial airline was either taking off or landing in at Ronald Reagan Airport, I believe, in D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
and a Black Hawk helicopter. They collided, and this was due to there not being enough air traffic control
Right.
people working. And the reason for this was because Trump decided to fire a lot of the air traffic control people in the country and to, give them money to quit their jobs or to leave earlier than they were supposed to. And there was one person keeping track of both helicopters and airplanes.
Oh
And
man.
just the plane crashed into the helicopter,
Yeah.
and this is Trump's fault for firing people and not keeping enough people employed to do jobs that are important, like, you know, keeping people in planes from dying in a fucking accident, um, you know, air traffic controlling stuff. um,
Yeah.
but our dear President Trump, he went and did a press conference and said that it was due to well, an interviewer said, because he made reference to it being the reason for it being DEI,
Mm-hmm.
and which, you know, what fucking sense does that make at all? None.
None. Yeah.
And
Jinx.
the CNN, oh, and the CNN interviewer um, uh, was like, "So you're gonna blame DEI on this? Do you think it's really the reason?" He's like, "Could have been, you know," and just like, and she was like, "Do you really think that it makes any sense?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and that's a very stupid question, and I'm surprised coming from you." And that's the president of the United States,
Yeah.
everybody.
And not a 14-year-old child. Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds like something a 14-year-old child would say. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And then somebody and was interviewing him in the Oval Office and was like, "Do you plan on visiting the site, like making a visit to the site and like talking or whatever?" And he's like, "I plan on visiting, not the site though. What do you want me to do? Go swimming?" Because it was over a body of water,
Wow.
and that's super cool and
Yeah.
very, you know, very heartfelt and sensitive.
Yeah. For I think I saw the count was 67 deaths that occurred.
67 and 68, yeah.
Yeah. So very, very, provocative thinking from our leader there. Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah, just
provocative was the word I was looking for there. But
it's just a tragic event that happened that really, really could have been avoided
yeah,
if not for our dear president, Donald Trump.
it's one of those things that like could be funny in an ironic way, like laughing at Trump for blaming DEI or whatever for this shit, but like
Yeah,
um it also, like I said, 67 people died because of it. So it's like
yeah,
that's pretty bad. That's
yeah,
not I mean anyone dying is not good, but
yeah.
that's a lot of people at once. Um
It is your second week in office,
yes.
and you were the cause of a mass casualty event in Washington D.C. due to you not wanting to pay people so you can give your billionaire friends and yourself tax cuts.
Yeah.
It's, oof. Thank you,
Yeah.
America.
Yeah. Too
And
bad.
then he signed it. He signed an executive order blaming Obama, Biden, and DEI. Um, which I don't know what signing an
Blaming
executive
them for
order.
what?
What happened? Just the fact that it
What?
happened.
That
Uh,
what? Okay.
nothing he does makes sense. And also, he like, what the fuck does that do? Signing an executive order to blame somebody? Like, that's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about.
You're signing your name on a piece of paper that says, "I blame Joe Biden and Obama and DEI." I didn't know what DEI stood for a couple months ago until a couple months ago, but man, it's easier to say that than the N word and get in trouble for that. So,
Yeah.
um,
I've I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but like DEI is also a term the first time I've ever been exposed to it was from Republicans using it. Like I never
yeah,
heard of it before they started blaming everything on DEI. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? And that was like, I don't know, probably a few months ago for me as well. Like it's just like I don't think I've ever heard. I mean, I'm sure it was used in like workplace terminology or something, but
yeah,
like to the common man, I've never heard that term until they started blaming everything on DEI. So,
yeah. It's just, you know, it's an easier way of them to be racist without being,
oh
you
yeah,
know, outward about their. Well, I mean, it's outward, but it's not them straight up saying the N word or the F slur or anything like that.
yeah,
Um, in a way for them to just blame people for their own wrongdoings, which
yeah.
is super cool and, you know, nothing like them at all.
No,
So,
definitely not.
um, so that's super cool. I think that's all I have written down for news. But yeah, just news is always a downer for the most part.
Yeah.
Um, but another thing that JD Vance said, he had to break a tie in the Senate to put Pete whatever Hegseth, I think, into the seat of like the military. He like oversees military things, and
Mm,
Pete is a former Fox News host who is a chronic drunk and doesn't have any experience with the military.
perfect.
um and JD Vance had to break the tie in order to put him in the seat, and he tweeted and was like, I thought I was done voting in the Senate. And if you don't know, the only one of the only jobs of the vice president is
Mm,
to break ties in the Senate.
yep.
So yeah, that and go to funerals. That's what vice presidents do. And I saw that and I went, "That's your only fucking job. That's your only job. You
Yeah.
sit there and look like a skinwalker, and you go to funerals and you break ties. That's all you're there for. You don't do any other thing, and other than you go to rallies and talk about how professors are the problem, other things like there's other Nazi ideals, but
Yeah.
uh, super cool, very funny. I love this country, and we're on the up and up.
Yeah.
So
Too bad. Too bad. This episode has to be called "Artist Analysis Bruno Mars" and not Week Two. But
Right? No, but we're going to stop talking about politics now and get into our monthly roundups.
yeah, I have quite a
Or
bit.
I think I have, um, without being able to talk about the Bruno Mars stuff until we talk about Bruno Mars, I think I have one, two, I have three. No, four. I have four.
Okay. I think I counted nine. I'm gonna be very quick with mine,
Oh,
and I promise. Um, but I don't know. I guess do you want to just talk about Hurry Up Tomorrow together at the end?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, first thing I listened to was AAA by Hayuko and Sunset Roller Coaster. It's a combination album of a Korean rock group and a Taiwanese rock group. I think they're rock. And it was one of Graydon from Hive Mind's favorite albums of last year. I listened to it and it was very good, and I've been spinning that a lot, and I love it a lot. So, yeah, I have that at a very, very strong 8. Um, uh, I guess I can. No, I should. I was gonna pull it up for like favorite songs, but that's gonna make things too long. um, but a lot of great songs on there. I like Why a lot. Um, I get. How do you want to do this?
Uh,
Maybe would it make sense if I just go quickly through mine and then like you can go like I'll stop
yeah,
before the weekend and then you can go quickly through yours and then
yeah,
is
sounds
that
good. We can
fine?
do that.
Okay. All
You're
right.
both-
Cool. Sorry, a little disorganized. Um,
you're good.
Next thing I listened to was Blue Garden by Delta Sleep. This is something that my friend Vanessa recommended to me, and I think I thought it was fine. This was early in the month now. A lot of things have happened. Yeah, yeah, I remember enjoying this one. It had some cool like mathiness to it, and very very proggy prog rock. But yeah, just a lot of interesting things going on, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I like the song Slow Burn, and I gave it a 7, a light 7. Um, and then the next thing I listened to was There Be Squabbles Ahead by Stolen Babies. This is also something Vanessa recommended to me, with the caveat that I probably wouldn't like it. And she was right. I was not a big fan of this one. It was very well, the genre tags on album of the year are avant-garde metal, alternative metal, and dark cabaret. So I think that does sum it up pretty well, and none of those are really things that I'm that huge on, except maybe alternative metal. That I could see things in there me enjoying. But yeah, it was not really my thing, and I gave that a decent 5. And the next thing I listened to for starting off my albums that the most popular albums of each week was Lil Baby's Wham. Also, another album I did not like, and I gave that a light 3. I don't really want to talk about it. Then after that, I listened to Perverts by Ethel Cain. I did enjoy this one quite a bit, but it's also very experimental. It's dark ambient drone music. Has some very very beautiful highlights on there as well, but the atmosphere in general is really cool, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I have that at a light 8. A lot of light stuff this week, or month. But then after that, listen to Balloonerism by Mac Miller. Enjoyed that quite a bit. I actually do want to listen to it even more. I'll probably be spinning it periodically throughout the year, to be honest. But I think it's good. I like it quite a bit. I think the production is really cool all throughout. I don't love all of Mac's performances on it, but he was also in a very transitional stage in his career when he was recording these things. So I do love some of the stuff. Like Funny Papers is a fantastic song. And then like Mannequins and Rick's Piano, I think, are also really great tracks. But it's really good, and definitely really nice to listen to. But I have that at a really strong 7. Um, then after that, I have Journal d'un Loup Garou by Lou Adrian Cassidy. Diary of a Werewolf, I think is what that translates to. And yeah, this is another thing that was a Hive Mind graded recommendation in their albums of last year. Although this album came out last week. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. It's kind of like something that feels made for me. It's like orchestral pop music with odd time signatures and really nice vocals and really great melodies and stuff. Like it's completely up my alley. And I don't love every song on it, but there are really great songs like Core Core Core. TDF is also a great track, and the opener is very good too. And yeah, I have that at a decent 8. Liking that one a lot. Almost there. And then next thing is Eusexua by FKA Twigs. Listen to that this week. I think it's really good. This is another one that I want to get some more listens into. I haven't listened to any FKA Twigs before this album. And there were it was kind of like Brat in a way, but like a lot darker and more atmospheric and like production heavy, I would say. But that doesn't take away from FKA Twigs, though. I think her vocals are really interesting and beautiful throughout. And there's a lot of great hooks. And I think the album's a bit of a grower for me. But a lot of great stuff on there. I really like Eusexua, the title track, Girl Feels Good, and Sticky, not Tyler the Creator cover. But I do like that track a lot as well, too. Very interesting project that I want to get more listens into. And I have that at a light 8. And then I listened to Bruno Mars, and then The Weeknd. So we'll talk about that one. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I want to check out East Sexual. I
Yeah.
know people were
Yeah.
talking about that when it was announced or something, but um, I saw the album cover. I was like, oh, I should listen to that. But then I realized I would listened to a bunch of Bruno Mars this week. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, sweet.
Busy week for you too.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, but the first thing I listened to, I believe it was January, was Illinois by
Yes.
Sufjan Stevens, which was very good. I've only given it one real listen through because it is a longer one, but it's very Broadway, very cinematic feeling. Sufjan sounds great on it. It's a lot different than the other projects that I've listened to from him. But it's just it's cool to see an album based around a place where I've lived my entire life, and that there's songs named after cities and um, just like
Culture.
just town, yeah, in Illinois, and it's like, oh, I know Decatur, I know Rock River Valley, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's super interesting, and it's very cool. Um, and it's one that I need to return to, but there's a lot of good stuff on here. One of them was that I had as song of the week was "Come On Feel the Illinois." I'm not gonna just read the whole title, but
Yeah.
the song about John Wayne Gacy is good too. Um, and there's just a lot of really good stuff on here. Like I said, it's very like Broadway and very like just big, and I like that a lot. Adds a lot of character to it. Um, from first listen, I'd probably give it like a decent 8, mid 8. This
Nice.
is very. Um, Next
Um,
thing I was.
I'm sorry. I just also wanted to butt in and say, ever since you had that song of the week, that track has been stuck in my head, and I've been really enjoying it a lot. And I think I might check out that album sometime soon.
I think you should. I think
Yeah,
you'll really enjoy it.
yeah.
Um, Next thing I listened to was "Romance" by Fontaines DC.
Mm,
Uh, which also was a surprise banger there that I wasn't expecting. I said it when I listened to it, but I just saw the album cover everywhere. What drove me to listen to it was Turning the Tables. The vinyl of it was behind them at one point in a video, so I was like, oh, you know what? Fuck it.
hmm.
So, I checked it out. It was very good. Very, it's like alt rock kind of stuff, and it's just it's very like um, it's not like super different, but it is like it's just vibey, and I think that the music just sounds real good. Um, one I listened to it a lot that one week that I listened to it, but I haven't really returned as of yet. But I did really like the song I chose. The song of the week, Starburster. I liked Motorcycle Boy and Favorite, the closer of the album. All very good stuff. I would recommend that one, and I'd probably give it like a light 8 to strong 7, something like that.
Nice, nice, nice.
Um, and then the next thing I listened to was Balloonerism by Mac Miller.
Mm,
Uh, the Also one that I haven't returned to yet, but from what I heard the first time around, it was good. It's like I said, it's not as like mind blowing or crazy uh, as Circles was for me when that came out, and this is also from like an era of Mac that I'm not super familiar with and that I haven't really listened to.
hmm.
So a lot of it didn't hit, but it could just have been like the first listen was late at night when I was very sleepy. But there's a lot of good stuff on here, like Funny Papers, like you were saying. And I also liked uh, Do You Have a Destination and Friendly
Hmm.
Hallucinations as well. But
Never realized those rhymed.
but it's good. I need to give it more listens and to like really get into it. But got that feel of a lot of older Mac albums that just like I'm gonna die and it's gonna be sad for you guys, but I'm on the way out. And
Yeah,
it's like he was very just. It's sad to see that he was having thoughts like that like for like a lot of his career,
yeah.
um, and that it ended up being true. But very good. I still need to listen to it more, but first listen, I give it somewhere in the sevens probably. And I listened to Bruno Mars on the weekend, so
Yep. Cool.
yeah,
Well, yeah, the weekend. Hurry Up Tomorrow. Uh, came out today. Um,
yeah.
uh, yeah. I mean, me personally, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I think the singles gave it a worse rep than the actual album itself. Um,
Mhm.
I didn't really like any of the singles. I didn't like any of the singles. But one of them wasn't even on the album. Dancing in the Dark, nowhere to be
Yeah.
found on here, even though the album is an hour and a half long. But I guess that's a good thing that it's not there. I don't know. I think the production is really great all throughout. I mean, keep in mind, I have one listen very late at night for me. So I'm going to listen to it more, probably maybe only one more time all the way through, to be honest with you. But depending on how it sits with me. But I think there's a lot of great production. I think the lyrical content is interesting. And him like giving up the weekend name pretty much all throughout the second half of the record, I think is an
Mhm.
interesting concept, and it's very ambitious and it's cinematic, and the transitions are great throughout too. um, but I do think there is a lot of fat on here. There's a lot of kind of boring songs that will have a production swell at the end to make up for the rest of the song being boring, but it's you know, it could be worse. But there are some really great tracks on it too. Like I really, I want to call these out by name. I really liked the opener "Wake Me Up," and "Open Hearts" was also a fantastic track. Like both of those are. I mean, once again, it have to see how it sits with me, but those are some of my favorite weekend tracks I've ever heard. Like they're very very good. And then there's some other great stuff throughout too. But it's a bit of a bloated mess, but it's also I'm positive on it overall, so it's like a really light 7 for me. I think at this very moment, but yeah, curious to hear your thoughts on it though as well.
Yeah, I didn't really listen to any of the singles. I heard "Dancing in the Flames," which again wasn't on the album. And when I was looking through the track list, I was like, "Where is it?" And it just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But that one has grown on me more than the first time, more after the first time I heard it. So it was, it was okay that it wasn't on the album, but I was like, "Oh man, I kind of like that one." But I also only have one listen, and it was late at night as well, so I don't have like a ton of thoughts. I liked it more than I was expecting. I'm glad that it wasn't just a rehash completely of that 80s synth pop kind of stuff that he's been doing the last couple albums, like the singles,
Mm-hmm.
at least "Dance with Flames" was. um, and it was just like more cinematic, especially since it's the movie for the album is coming out. That's in May or something. So it makes sense that it is very cinematic and very like all like the synthy kind of production stuff kind of lead. It kind of feels like a point in a movie where there's just music playing in the background,
Yeah.
um, which I can see happening. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it. It is very long, and a lot of the tracks got pretty samey just throughout, especially in the middle.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not a big fan of Timeless either. And there was a track up, I think Sao Paulo, I wasn't a big fan of at the beginning either.
Those are the two singles. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. But I wasn't a huge fan of those, as well as like some of the stuff in the middle. But um, "Wake Me Up" was my favorite, I think, on the record. Which is the opener, like you were saying, and that song just goes insanely hard.
Yeah.
Um, but there were other pretty good tracks on here as well. Um, like I liked "Cry for Me" as well, like you said. But I liked "Open Hearts," and I think "Take Me Back to L.A." I liked as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and then the closer was good too. And apparently the end of the closer leads into the first song that he released on the first album,
Oh, that's kind of
which is
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's an interesting way to leave the name of the weekend behind. Um, and I don't know if he plans on making music under a different name or just under his own name or something.
I think
But
from what I was seeing, it sounds like he has aspirations to release under his own name still.
okay,
Yeah.
which is cool. But I've only really listened to After Hours, Dawn FM, and Hurry Up Tomorrow. And while he was like kind of you know promoting it as like the last chapter of the last of this story from the last couple albums, it didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah,
um,
I kind of agree.
um, which is like it's okay, but it's kind of like when 21 Pilots was promoting Clancy as the last of the lore for Trench,
And then
and
there
it
was
just
barely any lore on it. Yeah.
yeah. So it didn't feel anything like the last couple of records. This is okay. I'm glad that he went with something different. But like you said, there is a lot of fat that could have been trimmed off, and it is very bloated. But I understand if he's making music for a movie that it's going to be longer and there's going to be more to it. But that doesn't excuse the fact that there's still a lot of stuff that could have bowed out
Hmm.
there. But I am overall positive on it as well. I need to give it more listens, but I'd probably be somewhere in the light 7 range as well. Um, But yeah, it's I would recommend checking it out at least once. It is long, like we said, so
Yeah,
gear up for that. But
yeah. Yeah, that might be one of the things I remember most about this album is seeing at 2 a.m. that it's 90 minutes long.
yeah, I was playing Marvel Rivals before it was like 8 or 9, and I was on Twitter and I just looked down. I was like, the track list. Here's the track list, and then it said that the album was an hour and a half long. I was like, oh, son
Mm,
of a bitch.
yeah, yeah,
But you can do long albums well, but if there's a lot of stuff, a lot of long albums like that just have too much that could have just stayed
yeah.
out of it.
Yeah, that
Um,
was one of the things I said in my preemptive. I have a temporary review on album of the year, but it's actually very long, so it's but that was one of the things I said is like it's hard. I think I can count on one hand the amount of albums that I've listened to that I think that are like over 75 minutes that I think successfully are you know cohesive and interesting all throughout. Like it's very hard to make a long album and keep me entertained throughout the whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still cool. And yeah,
Yeah.
well, we have a little bit of an artist analysis to
Yeah,
jump on
we
into
just hit an
now.
hour, so yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect timing.
Love it. uh, well, like I said earlier, this artist analysis this week is based on Bruno Mars's discography. So we'll be going through that, talking about our thoughts and feelings, how we were while we were listening to those records, as well as an evening with Silk Sonic at the end, just to tack on that little bow, like Mike said.
Mm-hmm.
My experience with Bruno Mars is, it's pretty basic. I've heard all the big hits that have been across his whole discography. Um, back when Doo-Wops and Hooligans came out, it was he was all over the radio. So I heard a majority of this album
Yeah.
just on the radio,
I think
and
it's
I have a lot.
worth noting that we were like 9 years old at this time too. So like
Yeah,
this is like prime. We're becoming cognitive of things around us.
yes,
So like it's very there's a lot of nostalgic feelings at least for me for this album.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I was getting a lot of nostalgia while listening to that record. But yeah, otherwise, it's very basic. There's a lot of stuff that I hadn't heard, especially the stuff that wasn't on the radio at all. So it was interesting to see some of the, you know, off the beat path kind of Bruno Mars
Deep
tracks
cuts.
that
Yeah.
that I'd never heard. But otherwise, an evening with Silk Sonic came out a few years ago, um, and I really loved that record when it came out. I still like it a lot, but I'll talk about that later. And but yeah, that's pretty much my background. What's your background?
Identical to yours. Like literally
Oh,
everything
perfect.
you said is just the exact same as me. So cool.
Perfect. Well, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure, I could start. Ooh, all right. Well, our journey with Bruno Mars in his album discography starts in 2010 with Doo-Wops and Hooligans. And I said, if you ever find yourself confused about when this album came out, I think the lyric "just chilling in my snuggie." Click to MTV so they can teach me how to Dougie. I think that lyric should clear up when this came out pretty quickly. um, uh, but yeah, this is a strange album because I know like half of the songs like the back of my hand, but the other half is completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
It just goes to show how huge the hits on this record were, and even if the production doesn't hold up incredibly well all throughout this thing, the melodies absolutely do.
Mm.
It's a catchy ass record, and Bruno brings his A game on most of these hooks and vocal performances. He came in hungry, and boy, he sure ate. I'm sorry. But even a track like Runaway Baby surprised me because if you had asked me before I listened to the album if I knew that track, I would have confidently said no. But I had no idea that was on this album, let alone that it was a Bruno Mars song. I've heard that hook somewhere before and I haven't been
Yeah.
able to identify it. But it had been ingrained into me without any prior associations. So But as I was alluding to, this project does sound dated as hell, though. Not only with the references, but also with the 2010s pop reggae sound, or instrumentals that feel pretty close to royalty-free YouTube music. Um, and while I do have nostalgia for tracks like Grenade or Just the Way You Are, they also fall into that category of sounding pretty dated, even if I think they're written pretty well, like melodically and sung well and all that kind of stuff. But all in all, though, this is a great starter record for Bruno. It's not reinventing the wheel, and it certainly has misses, but it also contains some pretty timeless hooks and melodies that will probably always be a part of me, and that's pretty cool. My favorites on here were Runaway Baby, Just the Way You Are, Grenade, and The Other Side, and my least favorites were Our First Time, Liquor Store Blues, and The Lazy Song. And overall, I give it a strong 6.
Cool. Yeah. Doo-Wops and Hooligans, 2010. I said, man, what the hell was going on in 2010? This album is all over the place, from pop to rock to reggae to ballads.
Yeah.
And this might partly be the nostalgia talking, but it honestly mostly all worked together for me. Uh, Starting your career off with a crazy heavy ballad like Grenade is crazy work, but you know, he made that shit work and it still pops off 15 years later. 15 years is fucking crazy,
Yeah.
by the way.
It is a bit, yeah.
Um, partly, partly due to how amazing Bruno's voice is. While I've always thought that, listening to a full album that's solely him, with some features, really cements that fact that he has a great voice. Uh, but there are a lot of bangers on here. There are also a few duds, and that's okay. It's your first record, and it's still overall pretty solid of a debut. Um, and it shows off Bruno's talents pretty way, whether it's like the choruses or the melodies and things like that, like you were saying.
Mhm.
Um, but though I will say, that was quite the jarring, quite quite the jarring turn between I think Liquor Store Blues into Count on You,
Mm.
or Count on. It was just like this very reggaeton, reggae pop song into YouTube royalty free music kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
like, it's still a banger, and a lot of nostalgia for that, for Count on You and Count on Me, but
Yeah.
just like pretty jarring overall. But it was, a lot of nostalgia for this album. And while having not, I also felt that way with Runaway Baby. I didn't write it down, but I had definitely heard that chorus, whether it was from like an animated movie back in the day or something like that. um
Yeah. I'm
but it
I'm
was just like,
I'm thinking about it now. I feel like it might have been in an ad or something. I don't know.
it could have been.
Yeah. But
It's very possible.
yeah.
Bruno was fucking everywhere, and he's
Yeah.
still everywhere. But
Number
yeah,
number one in the world at the moment.
yeah. But my favorites on this record were Grenade, Talking to the Moon, Runaway Baby, Just the Way You Are, Liquor Store Blues, and Marry You. And my least favorites were Our First Time, The Lazy Song, and Count on Me. And I gave it a strong 7 overall.
Okay. Cool. Alrighty.
When we hop 2 years to Unorthodox Jukebox. I've seen this album cover a lot. I think it's very silly. But yeah, I said, I've said it many times in this series, but I appreciate when artists kind of divulge from what they started with, what made them popular, etc. And Bruno does that a lot here. To be honest, I was digging a good bit of it. It felt like he was harkening back to old stylings of pop and rock, that reminded me of music my parents liked. But a lot of the songs on this record just didn't hit the same. Hit the same star power that Doo-Wops did. Um, that could also be the nostalgia for his debut talking again, but just not nearly as many songs on here were on the radio either, from what I remember.
Hmm.
It also seems like Bruno discovered sex between these records, because while he mentioned it a couple times
I
on
mean,
Hooligans,
he said it was his first time on the last album, so
that's true.
yeah.
He mentioned it a couple times on Hooligans. That gorilla was making him feel things.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I enjoy this record, but I don't think it's as good as the first. Cool genre blending stuff though. And there was a song on here that kind of reminded me of Fall Out Boy as well. I don't remember what song it was.
Interesting.
Um, but it was just like, I don't know, there was a lot of stuff with like old feeling pop and rock from like the 80s and stuff, which, gave me nostalgia from what my parents listened to. Um, but it was good, just like overall didn't have the nostalgia for me, so it didn't hit as well in my brain. Um, but still had a good enough amount of bangers on it. And my favorites were Locked Out of Heaven, Gorilla, When I Was Your Man, Treasure, and Young Girls. And my least favorites were Moneymaker Smile, Show Me, and Natalie. And I gave this one a strong 6.
Okay. Cool. Forewarning, I go into a little bit of a rant a little bit on this one. But we'll talk about it. Yeah, Unorthodox Jukebox in 2012. While there's undeniably some amazing smash hits on here, I wasn't really feeling as charmed by Bruno this time around. Something about the attitude of this record just really rubbed me the wrong way, really starting from the opener, Young Girls. The track deals with Bruno singing about young wild girls that supposedly turn him into a mess. I don't know, something about the way the song was framed just felt very oddly objectifying.
Yeah.
And like Genius was trying to say that he's playing a character on this track, but I'm not entirely sure if I believe that. And Genius also claims that he was playing a character on Natalie, which is this entire revenge fantasy against an ex gold digger where Bruno fantasizes about killing her, with lovely lines such as "I'm digging a ditch for this gold digging bitch," and "You'll be begging me, please, 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 and I will look at you and laugh, laugh, laugh while you sit there and cry for me all night." And I don't know, just entertaining the thought that he's playing a character here. I don't know what the underlying message is supposed to be. Like, what are we supposed to be taught from this villainous character, right? Like, I guess I don't get the point of it. It just feels to me like a song just soaked in extreme misogyny that didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
But aside from these questionable tracks, I just wasn't really into this one as a whole either. Like you were saying, I think the three superstars on here with Locked Out of Heaven, Treasure, and When I Was Your Man, I think all of those tracks are absolutely stellar. But pretty much everything else on here just had something that I wasn't a big fan of. A lot of the tracks towards the end had annoying instrumentals to me, and something like Gorilla had a decent instrumental, but a little too much animal imagery for a sex song for me. Uh, Reminded me of Animals by Maroon 5 a little bit.
Yeah.
But, even though I liked the production more on this one and the strongest songs were even stronger, I just felt like there were a lot more underlying aspects on this one that I wasn't really digging. And I don't know, maybe I was looking into it too much, but it just wasn't sitting well with me personally. But my favorites on here were When I Was Your Man, Treasure, Locked Out of Heaven, and Moonshine. And my least favorites were Natalie, Moneymaker Smile, Young Girls, and Show Me. And overall, I gave it a light 6.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
The
I'm
only,
too
the only
woke.
thing I liked, the only thing about I liked about Young Girls was the chorus. I don't know. It
Oh, yeah,
was
totally.
I remember it being catchy and fun. So I don't know. And Gorilla, I just thought was silly. So I just him yelling Gorilla with very distorted vocal effects was very silly to me. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, I
no,
totally get
you don't need to defend yourself. They're
it.
catchy. They're catchy songs. I get it. I get it. Um, I may have been looking into it too much.
Oh
I don't
no,
know, but
it's okay. It's okay to look into stuff.
um, but anyways, we jump four
Yeah.
years later to 24 Karat Magic from 2016. And I said, with how the last two records were going, I was a bit worried coming into this one. I know this is the fan favorite, and I was worried about how the womanizer mindset on the last project was going to transfer over to this cockier version of Bruno, because I know the ego goes up a bit on this album, just from the singles that I know. But the difference is, this time around, I actually believe that this is a bit of a character, and it's just actively playing into the fun aspects of luxury and love. Like, I totally believe that and feel that on this album. It really feels like this album sees Bruno just wanting to have fun, and that energy has really been emanating from him ever since this album released. He's had this energy. And to back it up, the production is so fucking funky on this one, with killer bass lines and synths galore. The whole thing feels like a 90s love letter, and I could be wrong, but I feel like Bruno was the first mainstream artist to really capitalize on like a nostalgic sound of 80s,
Mm.
90s, whatever you want to call it. Like I could be dumb, but I don't recall anyone else in 2016 throwing the era back as hard as he is here. The record sounds so good that I don't think there's a single bad song on here. There's a couple I wasn't as into, but they still shined in the instrumental departments, even if I didn't love the hooks on it as much. And the big hits like 24 Karat Magic, That's What I Like, and Finesse all aged even better than I expected, sounding even better today than when they released, in my opinion. And Versace on the Floor is also a stellar ballad. And side note, I remember the music video for this one coming out and me realizing that Zendaya from Shake It Off is pretty damn attractive. And look at us now. Um, but yeah, this album is great. Maybe one of my favorite mainstream pop records I can think of off the top of my head. This deserves all the success that it's gotten. My favorites are 24 Karat Magic, Finesse, That's What I Like, and Versace on the Floor. And my least favorites were Perm and Straight Up and Down. And overall, I gave it a light 8.
Cool. Um, Said, speaking of the use of old production styles, 24 Karat is chock full of references and stylings from the 80s and probably earlier.
Yeah, maybe I got my errors wrong there.
Yeah, I don't know. There could be 90s stuff in there too, but it's just sounded so 80s for a lot of it to me. With that came the best Bruno's music has ever sounded. That production was so sweet, clean, and groovy throughout. I had heard even less of these tracks than the ones on Jukebox. So when I heard not only how good the music sounded, but how pristine Bruno sounded throughout this whole record, I was very pleasantly surprised. Uh, there was something missing in the last record that's present here, making 24 Karat an overall more enjoyable experience. Whether it's the factors mentioned prior, or maybe the break being a lot longer between the two, these past two rather than the first couple. Um, you know, just bringing that freshness back, having like a nice long break between. Uh, this is a great record with some real bangers. I'm also headcanoning that Bruno was still with the gorilla here too.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
that's fair. That's fair.
but yeah, this one just like was super squeaky clean and like awesome production wise. I loved it a lot. I definitely think it deserves the flowers it's gotten as well. But my favorites were Versace on the Floor, 24 Karat Magic, That's What I Like, Time to Say Goodbye, Finesse, and Calling All My Lovelies. And my least favorite was Perm. And I give this one a decent 8.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. And then
Well,
Hmm?
oh, I was just gonna say that that's the end of Bruno's catalog here,
Yes.
but we are like we were saying tacking on an evening with Silk Sonic with Anderson Paak, just to do it.
Yeah.
It's a great album.
Just for fun.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Um, yes. But yeah, we got an evening with Silk Sonic from 2021. This year being 4 years since the creation of Silk Sonic and the
Whew.
release of this record is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
This was my favorite record of 2021, and I've listened to it on and off for the last few years. And it's still, as fresh and groovy as it's always been. The production across this whole album is so smooth and gorgeous. And with the combined efforts of Bruno Mars and Anderson Paak, this album absolutely rocks in every aspect. The synergy between these two artists is so infectious and fun, and they come together to make music that perfectly suits both of them, which feels like something you don't see very often, other than especially like recently, other than like a band like Boy Genius.
Mhm.
Um, I still love this record, and it's so fun. I don't think it's quite perfect anymore. I did give it a 10 when it first came out, but it's pretty close. Bruno has the last couple records. He's delved into like older sounds, and that's cool. But this record just feels so like 60s, 70s,
This
and
one's definitely 70s. I can confidently say that.
uh, with those two and just how they sound and their charisma, it just works so fucking well. And I love this record. It's so good. But my favorites are Put on a Smile, Smoking Out the Window, Fly As Me, Leave the Door Open, Blast Off, and my least favorites are After Last Night and 777. And I gave it a light 9.
Cool. Alrighty. Yeah, An Evening with Silk Sonic 2021. Something that's always stuck with me about this album is when somebody online referred to these two, Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, as peanut butter and jelly. Um,
Hmm.
I wish I could remember who that was because that's the really the best way I could describe the combination of them. They complement each other's talents so well and truly bring out the best aspects of in one another. And Bruno is objectively jelly, while Anderson is objectively peanut butter, and I will not elaborate further. But speaking out on this record from the point of view of Bruno's discography, I truly believe this is the best his songwriting has ever been. There's no fucking doubt that the man has a knack for writing a good hook. But something I realized during this album is that a lot of his solo tracks are really centered around the chorus and trying their best to get back to the chorus as soon as possible.
Hmm.
But which makes sense for pop music. But every facet of wait, what the hell? Oh, okay, it makes sense for pop music, but on this album, every facet of the track feels like fleshed out. Everything from the verses to the bridges. Like the verses don't feel forgotten about, and the bridges don't feel like they're tacked on to the end of the track. Every part of the track is super memorable and builds character for itself as an entire track, you know? Which hasn't been as common on his other records. And for my own nerdiness, the chords on this album are just fucking incredible. Hearing these type of chord progressions on the radio in 2021 gave me a lot of hope for the music scene. They tastefully implement that 70s influence and all of the richer music theory that goes along with that sound. Um, but yeah, I really found this record to be undeniably impressive, and I'm glad we listened to it again because to me it's great knowing that it's still holding up after this long. Not that you disliked it. But also shout out to Leave the Door Open for being the second song ever on Song of the Week for our
Yeah.
podcast. Crazy that it's been that long. But yeah, my favorites are Leave the Door Open, Put on a Smile, Smoking Out the Window, Blast Off, Fly As Me, and 777. And I didn't put any in my least favorites. I did put in parentheses Love Strain. That was a
Mm.
song that was retroactively added to the album, which I think is good, but also I think is a little long. It like I did you listen to the version of the album with it on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, it fits, but not. I think it just could have been left as a single off the record.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. Yeah, but I think it's a good song, but it just never compels me like the other ones do. But
yeah,
yeah, overall I gave it a decent 9 though. I really love this album.
yeah, awesome.
Cool. Alrighty. Overall thoughts. Bruno Mars is one of the most talented mainstream artists working today. Like full stop. I think he's well deserving of his number one placement on Spotify. Like I was saying, the man can write hooks that will be stuck in your ear for decades. Even something as early as Billionaire. Do you remember that song? I
Yes,
wanna be a
yes,
billionaire,
yeah.
so fucking bad.
I was gonna say something. I was expecting that to be on either doo-wops or on unorthodox jukebox, and it's one of those songs that I was like, no way, this isn't his song. I
Yeah.
looked it up. It's not his song.
It's Gym Class Heroes. That's a blast from the past right there,
Exactly.
if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. But yeah, that song came out before Doo Wops and Hooligans. Because I remember that it was that hook that really got people interested in him as
Mhm.
an artist. But yeah, that was my first exposure to him as well. For some reason, I knew about that song at that time. I don't know
I knew
how.
about it from Glee.
You knew about what, sir?
I knew about it from Glee.
Oh, there you go. That wasn't mine. Um, um, but yeah, that even the song "Billionaire" has him singing and writing at his absolute best, and that's one of the first things he came onto the scene with. He's made incredible tracks, and even as a feature artist, he just absolutely kills it all the time. I just think that he's really the prime example of a singles artist, and not an album artist. 24 Karat Magic was a little closer to having like a satisfying album feel, but I really think the only time he truly hit the album feel was with Silk Sonic. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with this, especially for being a pop song. For the quality he releases at, I think it's a serviceable trade off, honestly. I'm just an online music nerd and I like album experiences. But yeah, I have no idea what his future is as a solo artist. He quite literally has not released a solo song since 2016, but he's successfully running features still with Lady Gaga, a K-pop artist, and Sexy Red of all people, and at this current day and age. So who knows? But I think he brings a great voice to the pop scene. So I'm going to be interested in whatever he does next, regardless. He can do the funky bangers and the emotional ballads, and what more could you want? Besides a consistent album, I guess. Yeah, that's about it. I don't remember if we. Yeah, no, yeah. You do your thing next. Yeah.
Uh, um, yes. I'm genuinely surprised that Bruno Mars only has three mainline albums, and it's been 9 years since the
Yeah.
last one.
Yeah.
2016 being 9 years ago is scary.
Oh.
Um, he feels like someone who should have like 6 or 7 at this point, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that there's only three. Um, while a lot of stuff on doo-wops is probably extremely dated, I can't help but love it due to his charisma and my nostalgia. Unorthodox Jukebox isn't as good, but still love the older stylings and um, genre blending stuff. And 24 Karat is extremely well produced and groovy as hell. Uh, Bruno has done a lot with his spotlight, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon. He's got an amazing voice and fantastic charisma. This is a fun, short, and sweet discography that I'd be happy to hear more from. But I do agree with the fact that he's not like really a consistent full album listen guy. Though the fucking singles they pop off
They
hard as
do.
hell.
They do.
I hadn't really listened to the Lady Gaga one. Um,
It's all right.
yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot
Oh,
when
okay.
it was on my sibling had it on a playlist that played in the car over the holidays, and I was like, oh, I hadn't heard this all the way through, and it's actually very good.
Yeah.
But I hadn't. But I haven't. I've seen people surprised by how sexual the "Sexy Red" song is,
Yeah.
and and I've heard the appetit, but that's about all I've heard from those other two. But I'd be genuinely interested to see what he's got going on if he was again to release uh, a full album just himself again. I'd be interested to see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I'd always be down for more Silk Sonic if they were choose to do more of that.
Oh. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a good discography. There's some ups, some downs, but really those singles are the magic in here, the 24 karat magic, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
But my album ranking for Bruno goes 24 karat magic, doo wops and hooligans, and unorthodox jukebox, and I gave him a decent 7 over.
My ranking is very familiar: 24 Karat Magic, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, and Unorthodox Jukebox, and I gave him a light 7 overall.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool.
Very.
Very cool. Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
unless you got anything else to add, we could probably get into Song of the Week here.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm up first this week. Personally, I didn't want to cop out and do a Silk Sonic song. Just because, we both love that album a lot. But
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite song on all of just his solo stuff I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this one because I've heard it several times before. But I really, really loved the title track, 24 Karat Magic. So I'm going to go with 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars.
Break it down like 24 karat.
All right, that was 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars. What do you think of that, Colin?
It was fantastic. It's a great pop song, super catchy, super fun. Just it's still super relevant and not dated at all feeling to me. So
Except for maybe the hashtag blessed part, but it's
maybe that, maybe maybe that, but otherwise, it's still so squeaky clean and fun that it's just great. I love that song.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I something about that track. I realized I was just like, this is a really fucking good song. Like, it's one of those things that I think I've heard that song a million times, but like I don't actively listen to it that much, and
Right.
like actively listening to it, I was like, this is just so fun. And I love Bruno's vocals throughout too. Like something about the energy he gives during the verses is honestly something I haven't heard from him since. Like it
Yeah.
just something about it is just so infectious, and just the production is incredible. I love that little breakdown that happens in the bridge too. It sounds so good in headphones, and just yeah, I don't know. I was shocked by how much I genuinely love that track, but yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Yeah. What
Well,
what are you feeling?
I was really enjoying the ballad type style stuff for Bruno. Really showed off his nice voice, and one of my favorites of those was "Talking to the Moon." So I'm gonna go with "Talking to the Moon" by Bruno Mars.
Cool.
'Cause every night I'm talking to the moon.
All right, that was "Talking to the Moon" by Bruno Mars. What do you think, Mike?
I think that's a great song. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I didn't have that one listed in my favorites
Oh,
for doo-wops. And I think I actually enjoyed it more for some reason out of context of the album. It I don't know. I mean, like I said in my overall wrap up of Bruno, he's really great at those funky bangers and really good at those emotional piano ballads. And I mean, we highlighted that here.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like his vocal performance on it a lot. I think the production is pretty ambitious for that project as well. Yeah, it's got a great melody and it's very memorable. I think it is a really nice piano ballad by him.
Yeah, I honestly think it fits more in with what he would make nowadays ish, kind of like with the ballads, like
Yeah,
the Lady Gaga song and stuff like that. It just feels more relevant in today's climate than it might have back then, especially around songs like "Count on Me" and "Marry Me"
yeah, yeah.
and "Marry You." Um, but I don't know. I've other than listening to this record, I've heard this song other places. I've heard I think the chorus of the song was used in it was kind of trendy on TikTok a little while ago.
There's been like remixes of it that have been trendy. Yeah, I was thinking of those too whenever I hear that song.
Yeah. Um, and so yeah, I was excited to listen to it, and I don't know, it hit more than I was expecting. I like his voice on it a lot. The production is very cool, and I just think it sounds great, especially for 2010.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, love that song.
yeah, for sure. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I think we're all good to wrap up here, unless you got anything else to
Uh,
add for this week.
no, I don't know. I think I'm all good.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you for listening to our little artist analysis of Bruno Mars, as well as everything else that happened this week. Big week to talk about things and
Yeah.
yap. But yeah, if you're on streaming services listening to us yap, love you to death. Only now we're the only podcast that says that. But yeah, you can come on over to YouTube where we're under the same name, BrokeN Boys, capital N BOIS, where you can find our beautiful profile pictures. You can see Jay Schlatt with Batman, and you can see a really sexy ass gorilla. Let me tell you. Um, um,
All right.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But just in time for King Kong and Fortnite. But um, but you can also find links to the Song of the Week playlists. That segment we just did, we put all those songs into playlists at the end of the day, and we've been doing that for a long time now. Like I said, when Leave the Door Open came out in early-ish of 2021. That was the second song we ever did for that segment. But yeah, you can find Talking to the Moon by Bruno Mars or 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars in those playlists down there. We got one for me, we got one for Colin, and we got one for both of us combined, along with our lovely guests. Yeah, and then for me personally, like I said, I am making music. Colin, am I making music?
You are indeed making music.
Thank you for confirming. Um, and, and should be hopefully getting to some. I don't want to say final stage. Well, yeah, I mean, but we're getting closer to final stages. So keep an eye out for that. I've got links to Spotify and Apple Music down there. Catch up on your plaintive lore with coping mechanism. Um, and yeah, I also have my album of the year down there where I rate review albums. If you want to see more in-depth thoughts on the stuff I did in my monthly roundup, I yap over there as well through my keyboard. So go check those out. Give them some. Actually, I hit 1,000 followers on album of the year
Woo!
this week. So big time. I got a comma now, so I'm pretty big. But
That's, yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah. So feel free to check that out. I got my Instagram down there, my YouTube, my X TikTok, and yeah. In relation to you, um, uh, dear viewer, you are the jukebox, and I am the gorilla, putting something inside of you.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Hold on a second. Yeah, you know what? Just scratch that last thing I said. You're the jukebox. I'm the gorilla. Just pretend I didn't say that. And yeah,
Cancelled.
yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe. Colin here, he also has some. Well, he runs our socials. First off, he runs our TikTok page. Well, kind of not recipe. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that's up for now. So yeah, he still runs our TikTok page and he runs our Twitter page as well. TikTok, he posts funny little videos of us, and Twitter, he gives updates when episodes come out. And he's also have the new Instagram down there. I've been meaning to change that in the description. I keep forgetting every week. I'm gonna remember to do that this week. But yes, there's also the Instagram down there for BrokeN Boys, where he also posts funny clips. And yeah, he also has a couple personal things too. He's got an album of the year page where he rates reviews and music, and he's got a letterbox where he rates and reviews views movies. Um, yeah. And Colin, what's your relation to our dear viewer?
Well, I'm not gonna be fucking the jukebox. Listen, as you might have been, but I will be solemnly looking up into the sky, thinking of that dear gorilla as I talk to them at
That's
night.
me. That's me. I'm the gorilla.
And um, as Mike the gorilla gets done with the jukebox, he's gonna
Don't
come
put it
out
like that.
uh, the owners of the diner in which the jukebox is in are planning on harambeing Mike soon, but he's gonna get out of there before that happens.
Uh-huh.
And another one of our dear viewers, who is the Moon, um, he's Mike the gorilla is gonna come out to me, and I'm gonna be like, "Holy shit, there's a gorilla!" And then it's gonna be kind of like the SpongeBob episode where he unzips
Hmm.
the head. It's gonna be Mike's head underneath.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then unzip it again. It's going to be a gorilla underneath that.
Yeah.
But before you unzip that, it's
Surprise.
just it's just Mike, and we're both going to be looking up at the moon, and we're going to fall asleep under the stars, and in our dream, we're going to be in space, hugging that moon from in front and behind. I don't know how you do that with a sphere, but we're going to do it.
Hmm.
And on either side of the moon, me and Gorilla Mike are going to be
Hmm.
hugging and embracing the moon. And as as I look over the shoulder of our dear viewer, the moon, I'm going to, I'm just going to lean in for a kiss. But before I do that, I'm going to zip back up that gorilla mask.
Of course.
Because God, that's one sexy gorilla, and I'm gonna smooch that gorilla right on the juicy mouth, and yeah, and we're gonna do that right next to our dear viewer of the moon's ears, slurping sounds and all.
Hmm.
And this embrace is what we like to call the love cage. And if you, dear viewer, would like your very own, all you must do is drop your address in the comments below. So, if you would like your very own love cage, drop that addy and we will find you. You won't know when, you won't know where, but we will find you and you will get your very own love cage.
Damn
So,
straight.
yeah, drop that addy. Do
Yeah.
it.
Alrighty.
Do it.
Do it. Yes. Do it.
Do it.
Um, yeah. Well, thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next week when we do something in a bracket. We haven't done a bracket in a while because that's when the Brokies came out. So
Yes.
look forward to that. The Broken Boys bracket. All right. Bye.
Bye.